You sign a master service agreement with a major energy company, assuming you have secured access to their global asset spend. You rely on your proven track record and your executive contacts at headquarters, expecting the resulting contracts to flow downward to your regional teams. But if your target is Eni, that assumption is a liability. Under their satellite model, the parent company has spun its growth assets out into independent businesses. The technical qualification process, the buying committees, and the actual budget have physically relocated from headquarters to those new entities. Financial analysts describe this model as a clever portfolio strategy to attract outside capital. For a B2B supplier, it is a severe go-to-market problem. This building represents an organizational structure that no longer controls the money you are trying to capture. Calling your traditional account manager here to ask about an upcoming project will yield nothing, because they have no authority over how those funds are awarded. The single integrated major is now a constellation of separately managed, separately capitalized companies. Incumbent suppliers with decades of history are watching multi-billion euro scopes go to agile, localized competitors who understand this new structural reality. If your sales team is still treating Eni as a single integrated account, they are pitching to a brand, not a buyer. To capture this spend, you have to map the new purchasing environment. The buying centers fall into two distinct operational baskets. The first is the upstream basket, consisting of Var Energi in Norway, Azule Energy in Angola, and Ithaca Energy in the UK. These are massive, independent offshore production and development companies. They buy exactly what heavy industry operators buy: drilling and well services, subsea tiebacks, inspection work, and large-scale engineering logistics. The second basket handles Eni's energy transition assets, primarily Enilive and Plenitude. Their physical operations are overwhelmingly onshore, focusing on renewables, biorefining, and consumer retail power. Their procurement profile requires grid construction, engineering, procurement and construction contracts, and biofuels infrastructure. None of these are minor subsidiaries or holding companies. They are heavyweights operating at scale. This chart details the combined enterprise value of the transition satellites alone, exceeding 23 billion euros. In 2025, Eni realized roughly 5.8 billion euros in external cash from these specific entities. Because each satellite operates with distinct scope and independent scale, they require dedicated procurement portals and rely entirely on their own internal buying committees. To understand why the budget physically migrated to these satellites, we have to look at their financial architecture. Eni created the satellite model to accelerate growth by attracting third-party investors. To secure that outside investment, each spin-off requires strict autonomy over its own balance sheet. Take Azule Energy. It operates as a 50-50 combination of Eni and BP's assets, decoupled from the central ledger. Azule answers to its own distinct board. When investors underwrite the capital cycle, the spending authority locks into that specific entity. Satellites optimize purchasing behavior strictly for their own regional returns. They choose vendors that fit their asset base and localized growth plans, completely ignoring the parent group's global convenience. This independence drives a rapid operational tempo. Eni sells down its early exploration discoveries to feed these entities, meaning capital is continuously raised, deployed, and spent at the local level. For a B2B supplier, the mandate is straightforward: follow the capital. Pitching to where the money used to be is the most expensive mistake a vendor can make. The budget is tied permanently to the localized asset financing. This financial decentralization triggers a massive compliance hurdle: strictly enforced, jurisdiction-specific local content rules. Your global Eni reference list and master agreement are virtually meaningless for satisfying these localized compliance checks. You must independently re-earn your technical qualification and vendor status for every individual satellite. Let's look at the jurisdictions governing the upstream group. Azule Energy operates under Angola's regime, requiring local registration and employment metrics. Ithaca Energy answers strictly to rules governing the UK continental shelf. Var Energy requires alignment with the Norwegian framework. You are navigating entirely isolated physical and regulatory environments. What used to be a standard global tender process is now 3 separate, highly localized conversations spoken in the regulatory language of the host country. But this jurisdictional friction offers an intense strategic advantage. Suppliers who invest the resources to build a genuine in-country footprint lock out the incumbent competitors who still try to leverage their historical headquarters ties. Local content is not a corporate checkbox. It is an account-by-account capability that creates a highly defensible commercial moat. To capture revenue here, your sales organization must completely abandon a generalized brand strategy and execute a targeted account strategy. This matrix outlines the required shift. Centralized procurement and a group MSA are obsolete. The winning equation targets satellite-level capital. First, you must assign dedicated coverage, treating Var, Azule, Ithaca, Enilive, and Plenitude as 5 distinct named accounts, mapping their individual buying committees. Second, you must time your sales endurance to the independent capital deployment cycles of the specific satellite, rather than waiting for an annual parent group budget. Third, you must match the agility of the satellites themselves. They are built lean and designed to satisfy impatient external investors. A credible, rapid delivery record inside that specific satellite will outweigh decades of historical relationship with the group center. The single integrated customer is permanently fractured. The vendors who restructure their revenue engines to follow this constellation of capital are the ones who will win the work.